Lazarus, Come Forth Part 2. By E. G. White. After 2 days, Jesus made the decision to go to Lazarus, but his disciples were very afraid for his and their safety. They could see nothing but danger in the course he was about to pursue. Master, they said, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou thither again? Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? I am under the guidance of my Father. As long as I do his will, my life is safe. My 12 hours of day are not yet ended. I have entered upon the last remnant of my day, but while any of this remains, I am safe. If any man walk in the day, he continued, he stumble not, because he seeth the light of this world. He who does the will of God, who walks in the path that God has marked out, cannot stumble and fall. The light of God's guiding spirit gives him a clear perception of his duty, and leads him aright till the close of his work. But if a man walk in the night, he stumble, because there is no light in him. He who walks in a path of his own choosing, where God has not called him, will stumble, for him day is turned into nights, and wherever he may be, he is not secure. These things said he, and after that he saith unto them, Our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go, that I may awake him out of sleep. Our friend Lazarus sleepeth. How touching the words! How full of sympathy! In the thought of the peril their master was about to incur by going to Jerusalem, the disciples had almost forgotten the bereaved family at Bethany. But not so Christ. The disciples felt rebuked. They had been disappointed because Christ did not respond more promptly to the message. They had been tempted to think that he had not the tender love for Lazarus and his sisters that they had thought he had, or he would have hastened back with the messenger. But the words, Our friend Lazarus sleepeth, awakened right feelings in their minds. They were convinced that Christ had not forgotten his suffering friends. Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleep, he shall do well. Howbeit Jesus spake of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking of rest in sleep. Christ represents death as a sleep to his believing children. Their life is hid with Christ in God, and until the last trump shall sound those who die will sleep in him. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent you may believe. Nevertheless let us go unto him. Thomas could see nothing but death in store for his master if he went to Judea, but he girded up his spirit, and said to the other disciples, Let us go, that we may die with him. He knew the hatred of the Jews toward Christ. It was their purpose to compass his death, but this purpose had not succeeded, because some of his allotted time still remained. During the time Jesus had the guardianship of heavenly angels, and even in the regions of Judea, where the rabbis were plotting how they might take him and put him to death, no harm could come to him. The disciples marveled at Christ's words when he said, Lazarus is dead. And I am glad that I was not there. Did the Savior by his own choice avoid the home of his suffering friends? Apparently Mary and Martha and the dying Lazarus were left alone. But they were not alone. Christ beheld the whole scene, and after the death of Lazarus the bereaved sisters were upheld by his grace. Jesus witnessed the sorrow of their rent hearts, as their brother wrestled with his strong foe, death. He felt every pang of anguish, as he said to his disciples, Lazarus is dead. But Christ had not only the loved ones at Bethany to think of, he had the training of his disciples to consider. They were to be his representatives to the world, that the Father's blessing might embrace all. For their sake he permitted Lazarus to die. Had he restored him from illness to health, the miracle that is the most positive evidence of his divine character would not have been performed. Had Christ been in the sick room, Lazarus would not have died, for Satan would have had no power over him. Death could not have aimed his dart at Lazarus in the presence of the life-giver. Therefore Christ remained away. He suffered the enemy to exercise his power, that he might drive him back, a conquered foe. He permitted Lazarus to pass under the dominion of death, and the suffering sisters saw their brother laid in the grave. Christ knew that as they looked on the dead face of their brother, their faith in their Redeemer would be severely tried. But he knew that because of the struggle through which they were now passing, their faith would shine forth with far greater power. He suffered every pang of sorrow that they endured. He loved them no less because he tarried, but he knew that for them, for Lazarus, for himself, and for his disciples, a victory was to be gained. For your sakes, to the intent you may believe. To all who are reaching out to feel the guiding hand of God, the moment of greatest discouragement is the time when divine help is nearest. They will look back with thankfulness upon the darkest part of their way. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly. 2 Peter 2:9. From every temptation and every trial he will bring them forth with firmer faith and a richer experience. In delaying to come to Lazarus, Christ had a purpose of mercy toward those who had not received him. He tarried, that by raising Lazarus from the dead he might give to his stubborn, unbelieving people another evidence that he was indeed the resurrection, and the life. Jesus was loath to give up all hope the people, the poor, wandering sheep of the house of Israel. His heart was breaking because of their impenitence. In his mercy he purposed to give them one more evidence that he was the restorer, the one who alone could bring life and immortality to light. This was to be an evidence that the priests could not misinterpret. This was the reason of his delay in going to Bethany. This crowning miracle, the raising of Lazarus, was to set the seal of God on his work and on his claim to divinity. Please come back to see in part 3 of this video Jesus's greatest miracle ever. Please like, subscribe, share, and add a comment. God bless. See you in the next video.